Hello, how are you? Hope you're good. Welcome to another wrap-up, and this one is for February, and I've checked on my Goodreads what I've read this month, and some of the things that I read at the beginning of February, don't honestly, I know that this is like a short month and everyone's like, ah, time has gone so fast, but for me it's like, was this really that month? Because it feels like years ago. I think I read 10 things. I say that because some of them are like graphic novels. I think I read 7 books, some are smaller than others, and I may be wrong here. So anyway, I'm trying to make this like chill, so you can just chill with me and we can talk about what I read this month and then what I'm reading currently and what I will read in March. So I'll talk about this chronologically. Zeus, please, Zeus. So the first book that I finished in February was Dark Matter. I already have a co-pilot review that is non-spoilery for you to watch if you want to know my thoughts a little bit in depth, but if also a side note, I'm very glad that most of you seem to be enjoying the co-pilot reviews, because I'm always a little bit like worried that obviously because it's so non-spoilery that sometimes it's gonna be just really not informative enough, but I'm really glad that most of you seem to be enjoying the co-pilot system, so I'm just glad. Anyway, Dark Matter by Blake Crouch, such a brilliant book. If you enjoy sci-fis or thrillers, and if you love both, then just basically pick this up. I loved it so much. It definitely went straight into my like top books ever read, because I couldn't put this down. I was so intrigued. This is about... It's very hard to speak about this book without spoiling the main thing that is like the point of this book, but basically it is about a... I feel like I said that in the last wrap-up. Why though? Yeah, sorry if I'm repeating myself. In really short, it is about a guy who gets kidnapped out of his life and then tries to go back in it. Really don't think that a lot of people would be disappointed at all. I feel like this is just like universally pleasing as books go. Of course there's, you know, of course that's not true, but you know what I mean. I just really recommend this. Read it if you haven't. I enjoyed it so much. The next book that I finished was We Are the Ants by Sean David Hutchinson. This is about a boy who is having quite of a rough time as he gets abducted by aliens constantly and then like dumped in random places, and the aliens give him a button to press and he can save the world, or he cannot press the button and the world will end. This is basically about his journey and about him thinking whether it's worth to press the button or not. There is a character in this book that has committed suicide, so there's triggers for that definitely, because it's one of the main focus in the book is definitely triggers for suicidal thoughts and depression in general. So if you're a little bit touchy, or if you don't think that this is the best time for you to grab this, maybe avoid this. But that being said, it's not that difficult to read and it wasn't very triggering, even though I am not in the best place at the moment in my own life. I do think that it was quite funny and intriguing and very, I want to say interactive. Can a book be interactive? Just like easy flowing, not too sad and quite funny book to read. It does have a big focus on friendship, which I really enjoyed. The main character was not always likable, I have to say, and I did struggle a tiny bit with that, but other than that, I really quite enjoyed this. Oh, I didn't say, I feel like I don't even need to say, but Dark Matter was 5 stars for me. This one was 4 stars for me, and I need to just like speed this up. I'm gonna speed this up from this book onwards. And then obviously if you need more details, I will probably make co-pilot reviews of most of the books, unless it's like graphic novels or books that I'm rereading and are like really well known, like my next one, which is Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. So this was the last one of... I'm holding like a normal paperback, but actually I've been reading the illustrated edition and swapping with the audiobooks, because I've been in an audiobook slump sort of, and there's gonna be a book that put me in the slump later on here. But yeah, I wasn't feeling like listening to, because my mind is like all over the place recently, so I don't feel like I can focus. But on Harry Potter it's easy because obviously I can't miss anything because I already know what's happening. So yeah, this was the last one for the illustrated editions, because the next ones are not out yet. When I was listening sometimes and flipping through that book and like following the narrator there, it was like such an awesome experience. Now I get like some people like for Illuminate, because I know that's supposed to be a brilliant audiobook, but I have the hard copy and I just didn't want to listen to it, especially... Also, you paid double, but I can see why that would be amazing, because it's just like on a whole different level. Read this one, and I don't rate Harry Potter books because I am extremely biased, and in my mind they are all 5 stars at some point in my life, but rereading it back I've noticed a lot of different things that are quite like questionable. I feel like there's a lot of fat shaming going on, there's a lot of animal cruelty that no one really picked up, and it's just like used for comedic relief and stuff. Yeah, there's a lot of problems in Harry Potter, but at the same time it holds such a dear part in my life and my childhood, and it just represents like a lot of... It's too close for me to actually rate them because I'm aware of all these flaws, but at the same time I love it so much, and obviously it's a big part of me and it's always gonna be like that. So I acknowledge that there's problems, and it still doesn't change the fact that I loved them, which is I think what all readers should do, because it doesn't matter. If you enjoyed it, then you enjoyed it. You can't change the fact that you enjoy it, even if it is problematic. I read that. Then I read the volume 8 of Saga, and I've been following Saga ever since the 4th one, I think. That's when I got onto the train. And I think for the 6th and 7th, I was a little bit like... I still like it, but I was like... It was a little bit of a like same old stuff. And I don't know if it was my mood or if it just like got right like back on the horse. But the volume 8 really just reminded me why I love Saga so much, and it got 5 stars. Again, one of the reasons I didn't stop collecting these is because Fiona Staples' artwork is just amazing, and I felt like the writing and the story in this particular volume was picking things up, sort of like, I don't know, it pleased me to read this and enjoy it again, because I was a little bit disappointed, as I said, with like previous ones, because I felt like I couldn't be bothered and we were just going in circles. But this one is amazing. I really thoroughly enjoyed it, and I'm glad to be back on the Saga wagon. Then I read volume 2 of Lock and Key series and absolutely loved it. I think this one's called Head Games. It's by Joe Hill. The whole series thing, oh I didn't say, if you're not familiar with Saga, the whole series is like it's about race war between the colony and the moon, and between like a planet and the moon, and the races really just hate each other, and there's a long tension going on, but there's 2 people who fall in love and have a child, and it's like a forbidden thing, and no one's seen that before, and now they're hunted all over the planet, and it's like a love story, but like it's very sassy and it's very adult. And this one is about a family who suffer a tragedy and then move into an old family house that is actually haunted, and sort of haunted. There's a lot of supernatural stuff going on. I wouldn't say like haunted. There's keys, which is lock and key, to open different things, and this particular issue was dealing with the key that opens people's minds. It was really interesting, and there was a character, was one of the teachers here in this book that we got the story of theirs, and it was so heartbreaking and it was excellent. I loved it so much. Yeah, it's really interesting. The art style is a little bit, again, this is definitely an adult comic. I know people get like angry when I call them graphic novels. I'm sorry, it's just like it's in me to call them. I know like technically they're comics. The art style is very different from the ones that I've seen before. It's very kind of like, not like gruesome, but it's not like attractive. I loved it. I gave it 5 stars again. And then I read The Raven King, which is the last book in the Raven Cycle series, number 4. This is by Maggie Stiefvater, and this is the book that I enjoyed but was left extremely disappointed with. This is like a very unpopular opinion, I'm aware. It's not like enjoy the series overall a lot, and I know it's like people's favorite and they're like 5 stars for everything. I don't think I was ever in that like massive fan group, but I don't know. This was such a roller coaster for me, where it's about a girl who meets these guys from a really fancy schmancy academy school thing, and they sort of like befriend each other, and the main focus of the leader of that group is to find this sleeping king that basically is a legend, but he starts believing it, and it's like it's a supernatural book series, so you know there's some sort of supernatural things in there. I don't want to say much more than that, but this is the 4th and final book in the series, and as I said, I was like disappointed. My relationship with this whole series was a little bit like up and down. So the first half of the first book I was like nah, and then the second half of that book I was just so hooked and fell in love with all of the characters. Second book was good. Third book was the best in my opinion, even though a little bit like unclear. Hey, and I was hoping that they're gonna clarify a lot of things in the fourth one and make you feel that some of the gibberishness, I'm not saying that everything was unclear, but like some of the gibberishness would like make sense and stuff. I didn't feel like that was the thing. I felt like there was a lot of characters that didn't really have any particular roles in this book that I found disappointing. I don't want to specify because I don't want to like spoil anything, but yeah, there was like a few characters and character groups that seemed to build up stuff over the other books and just completely didn't have important roles in this one. The actual sort of force or villain that we're fighting, I felt, was really underdeveloped, and that was really disappointing to me. It's not like the actual conclusion was disappointing, it's just I think the delivery of it, and it felt like it was building up to something, and then sort of like in the third book, even though I liked it the most, I felt like that initial I'm trying so hard here. The whole initial goal of the first two books was sort of like lost, and it started being a bit like, what's the actual goal here? So I feel like the series, and as the idea goes, started really strong and plot-wise, and then it just sort of lost the purpose in the last ones, and then it was just like, what are you even doing? And I just felt like the force that we were fighting was, it could have been so epic. That being said, I enjoyed it because I was attached to the characters and I'm a character-driven person, and I enjoyed the writing, which is, I know probably some things that people don't like are the writing style of Maggie Stiefvater. I didn't have a problem with it. Surprisingly, I had a problem with the plot and the development of some side characters and stuff. This is gonna be a hell for me to edit because I just babbled like a whole crap ton of stuff. So when I ran it through Copilot, it actually got 3 stars. It's just like, it's not like I hated the book when I was reading it, but I was very frustrated and disappointed when I finished it. It just did not live up to my expectations. I felt like there was something really missing, and it was just so sad because I really wanted to love it. I wanted it to be this like wow factor. This is why I didn't wait that long after reading the third one. I was like, I'm gonna finish this because it sounds like it's gonna be awesome. And it wasn't. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't awesome. If this is your favorite, please don't like attack me in the comments. Thank you very much. You know, everyone with their own opinions and stuff. So now the book that I actually DNF'd was surprisingly Destiny of Dragons by T.G. Klune. I say surprisingly because I had such a good time with the first one. Unfortunately, and this was on audiobook and it's like long, it's like 20 something hours I think. I listened to like 10 of them, so I gave it a really fair chance because some books are like shorter than that. I think possibly I listened to the Lightning Struck Heart in a really right time for me personally, and I found it really funny and it was hilarious. And this is, by the way, a book about like gay wizard apprentice and his gay best friend that's a unicorn and like sexually aggressive dragons. It's a very much adult one again, and it was really fun, and it was like adventurous for the first one, and then the second one I knew that it was supposed to get a little bit darker, but I was actually wanting that. I was wanting it to get like more serious, and people say that it did, and like the author says that it does, but for me it didn't. For me it was like same old, and I felt like at first it was endearing and fresh and really interesting, and then at the time that I was listening for the second one now, it just felt like it was the exact same. And I'm thinking maybe if I read it and didn't listen, because obviously I love the audiobook and the person that voices them is brilliant, I think, and it's very like accurate to the characters, but it is so over the top that I feel like it's very exhausting to listen to. And then I took like a little break, and then I started trying to listen to this again, and I just realized that I don't really care what happens now. And I was like, you know what, 10 hours is a long time, so I'm gonna stop this because I honestly felt like I didn't care anymore. So that's kind of sad. I love the first one. The second one sort of like felt very repetitive, and here I am. Then I listened to another audiobook afterwards, and this one is called This Is Going to Hurt, Secret Diaries of a Junior Doctor, and this is by Adam Kay. This is all about the NHS system here in UK and a guy who finishes med school and goes into at a hospital, and it was painfully funny. It was supposed, because it's supposed to be, he's like a comedian now because he quit being a doctor, and it's telling all about these stories and all about the treatment of doctors inside the hospitals, and it was very eye-opening, but it's also very, very funny, and I felt it was really easy to listen. And I do have to say it can be a little bit triggering if you are a hypochondriac like I am, but not to the extent that you cannot handle it, and I really thoroughly enjoyed it. But check it out if you're interested in that kind of thing from like a person's perspective who worked as a doctor. There's a lot of funny stories. Oh, and I got it wrong. So you know how I said I read Prisoner of Azkaban? first of all, before that, in February, I also finished the Chamber of Secrets. So that's the one that was supposed to be there, but let's throw that in here as well. Ta-da! And then the last book that I finished was This is a small book of like 100 pages, although it took me a long time to read because it's very thought-provoking, so you don't cram them all in at the same time usually. This is 40 Tales About Afterlife, and I thought, especially because this is written by a neuroscientist and writer, I thought that this was maybe gonna be some sort of like stories or collection of stories of people who thought that they like passed away and then came back from a coma or something. But no. This is not based on anybody's like experience. This is just based on him making a lot of stories on how he thinks life has been created and who are the like god people creatures, and it's actually way more interesting and thought-provoking than I can make it sound, because I thought it's just gonna be like, you know, an interesting read, but I didn't expect it to be like so amazing. Some of them, and they're really short stories as well as like 2-3 pages. It's great. It was so interesting to read. Some of them were actually funny, but most of them were just like thought-provoking, and it's amazing. I really highly recommend you pick this up, even if it's for like a coffee table thing and you just read one per week or something. It's really good. I really recommend it. Okay, so now for the things that I am currently reading. I am listening to the Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. I am just at the part where they have gone home after the Quidditch World Cup event, and I've forgotten how much I love the Quidditch World Cup part of this book. Oh my god. This reread of Harry Potter wasn't as excitable for me as it usually is so far for some reason, because I don't know, the first books and movies are always my least favorite for some reason. I know some people love them to death, but this is where I am starting to enjoy it so immensely. I feel like the writing style changes quite a bit in the 4th book, and I am living for it. Technically still in my TBR is Nimona. I am like halfway through of this, and to be fair, every time I try to read it, it doesn't interest me, and I don't know why, because there's nothing wrong with it. I struggle. Like, it doesn't seem pleasurable when I'm just like, I don't actually know. I don't know. Something about this. I'll finish it at some point, but I feel like I'm dragging it so much now that it's definitely not gonna be 5 stars. I am also buddy reading Strange the Dreamer with AJ, and oh my god, again. I'm only 180 pages in, and I am adoring this book. I feel like it's gonna be one of my favorite books ever again, because I am enjoying the writing style so much. I've been invested in the story from like page 50. I know some people said that it's quite slow, but I clearly just live for the slow books, because I was like a little bit worried hearing that from people, but I love it. I am on like head over heels over this book, and we're taking it kind of slow because we're budding reading it. I enjoy it so much. I adore how this is written in the whole story. I can't fault it for anything. I love it so far. I feel like this book would struggle to somehow be not great at the end. I mean, we'll see, but yeah. And the last book that I actually have started already and am currently reading is The Close and Common Orbit by Becky Chambers, which is like a second book after the Long Way to a Small Angry Planet, but not really, because it's not actually following the same crew, but it is set in the same world. So this is basically a book about an artificial intelligence trying to live in a body. I don't know much else about it, and I don't want to say much else about it, but yeah. I absolutely adore The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet, and I'm sure I'll enjoy this as well. I'm only like 15 pages in, so I can't really say about how I feel about it yet. Now for the things that I want to read, because I'm already reading quite a few things, so there's not going to be a lot of things that I want to put in my TBR. But there is a book that I know... Shush, sis. But there is a book that I know I will read in March, because it is a book in a jar thing, and that is The Hate You Give. The Hate You Give has been voted to be the book in the jar, which is the book club. I will link the video or something suggested somewhere here, just ignore these. If you want to learn more about the book club, so we can all discuss this and read it together. This is by Angie Thomas, and it's about social and racial injustice, and it's basically inspired by the movement of Black Lives Matter. So I feel like this is going to be a really soul-crushing but really important read, so I'm really looking forward to that. Yeah, if you want to join me in March for reading this book, please feel free. The Goodreads page is always linked in the description box, and then that might be it, or I might choose something else to read, depends how my reading goes for this month. But the two things that I also maybe want to try is Dead Man Wonderland, which is the manga that I chose from your recommendations, so thank you so much for recommending me mangas. And then the third volume of Lock and Key. This one's called Crown of Shadows, and it looks really dark and beautiful. So yeah, whew, that was like, that's probably gonna be long. Sorry about that. So how was your reading month? Did you read a lot in February? If not, that's also fine. This is just a hobby. Do you recognize any of the books that I mentioned? Are there any favorites? Do you guys think I'm gonna end up actually really loving Strange the Dreamer? Because that's my initial analysis of my feelings so far. Let me know what was your favorite book that you read this month, what was your least favorite book that you read this month. Thank you so much for watching. Chat to me down in the comments, and I'll see you next time. Bye!